let's talk about credit cards. There are very strong opinions out there. We've got the camp of absolutely no credit cards. We've got the camp of yes, you can have a credit card. Well, what does it look like in the middle of the road? I've lived in both scenarios. I've had a credit card and I've lived with just a debit card and didn't have a credit card. So let's talk about the pros and cons of credit cards. And before I do, let me just be really clear. I am not here to tell you to never have a credit card, and I'm not here to tell you go ahead and get one. You need to decide for you what makes sense for where you are and how you work with money. I will lay out a few different pros and cons. This is not a completely exhaustive list, but these are some of the main things that come up a lot of times when I have conversations with people about credit cards. So let's talk about the pros for a minute. A lot of times people have credit cards because they're getting something out of it. They're getting cash back, they're accruing miles, or they're earning points. There's something that for every dollar they spend, they're getting something back in the form of a reward, and that is an incentive for them to have a credit card. Another thing about credit cards that exist is the protection fraud. Yes, debit cards have protection fraud for them as well. However, there's a little bit more of a delay with a bank or a credit union when it comes to identifying fraud and reconciling that. When there is fraud, let's face it, in your checking account, the money's gone instantly, and it will take a few days for the bank or credit union to investigate and get everything back in order so you have your money back. But with a credit card, there is the added layer of protection where if there is something that is going on, they're able to work with you and prevent that bill or that purchase from staying on your bill. They're able to remove it a little bit faster, and your money is still in your bank account. So there is that real extra layer of protection. But again, debit cards have protection too. It's just, it looks a little different. And find out from your bank and your credit union what it looks like if there was a fraudulent charge. What's their process? What's their turnaround time? How do you go about that? The other thing with a credit card is it is a little easier, not impossible, but it is a little easier to rent a car or a hotel room when you have a credit card versus a debit card. That is a lot, that has a lot to do with the fact that these are what the institutions have required. The hotel companies, the car lender companies. This is just a decision that they have made. It's not that debit cards can't be used for rentals. In some instances you can if they're willing to work with you, but some of them have just made the decision that they don't want to. They want a credit card. So just understand that distinction. The other thing that a credit card has a benefit for is it's an easy way to build credit. You can open up a credit card, make a purchase, pay the bill, and not use a credit card for a while. But the fact that you have an open account, you're showing on your credit report a good history of paying your bill. That is what helps build credit, is something in terms of debt that you've incurred and how you manage the debt. That's what builds up your credit report. So having a credit card is an easy way to build credit. Again, it's not something you have to use all the time. Just having it open and using it once in a while for a small purchase is enough to build credit. We could talk a lot more about that at another time, but those are 4 of the main reasons why people see benefits in having credit cards. So let's talk a little bit more about the disadvantages of having credit cards, because there are some. They come with high interest rates, and those interest rates oftentimes are accrued on a daily basis. So whatever your balance is on Monday, let's say you have a 20% interest rate. On Tuesday, they look at your Monday balance, apply a 20% interest charge to it, and then that creates a new balance for the end of day Tuesday. And then it just keeps repeating. Now, this is only accruing for money that you have charged to your card and not paid. So this isn't just as soon as you make a charge to your credit card, it's automatically accruing interest. No, this is what is on the balance of your card after the bill is issued to you and after the due date, whatever isn't paid off. So those $5, $10, $15 purchases on a credit card can balloon really fast if they aren't paid off in a timely manner. The more money that sits on the card unpaid, the larger it's going to grow because of the high interest rate. The other challenge that a lot of people have with credit cards are all of the different fees that are involved. There are surcharges. Just by using a credit card, some vendors will turn over to the customer the surcharge for using plastic versus cash. A lot of times there's like a 3% surcharge that a lot of merchants are having to pay for accepting credit cards as a form of payment. And sometimes they will turn that surcharge over to the customer. So you're paying what the cost of the good is, plus your sales tax, and potentially a surcharge if they're adding that to your bill as well. Then there's annual fees. There's just fees for just having a credit card. There are some companies that charge that. There's also those lovely late payment fees. If your bill is not paid, if they don't receive the minimum balance by a certain due date, you're going to get hit with a fee on top of, yes, the interest rate. And then there's also the over the limit fees. If you have, well, all credit cards have a maximum limit, but if you exceed the maximum limit that you're allowed to have at any one time, you're going to get hit with a fee on that too. The other challenge with credit cards is how easy it is to overspend. We don't recognize making a purchase as easily with cash as let me back up. We don't recognize a purchase easily with a credit card as we do with cash. There is a lot of science that shows that when you're spending with cash, you're leaving something behind and you're taking the item home. But when you're playing with plastic, you're taking your card with you and you're taking the item. Your brain just doesn't register that a transaction has happened. And so it's very easy to tap or swipe and keep doing it because it's so easy to buy and it's so easy to overspend because of that. And the credit card companies know this. They know how easy it is to use, how convenient it is, and how quickly you can rack up a bill. So you have to have some discipline to use a credit card. And that leads into my next comment about how easy it is to create bad credit. And by bad credit, I mean having high bills, incurring high bills, not paying your bills on time, not making the minimum payments. All of that shows up on your credit report, and all of that are signs to a lender that you're a risky customer. So if you are coming to a lender for a mortgage or any other type of loan, they're going to look at your credit report. They're going to look at how you are managing all of the debt accounts that you have ever had, even the ones that are paid off and closed, and they're absolutely going to be paying attention to your credit card. They're going to be looking to see how you are managing that. So these are things to keep in mind. It's important to be aware of how you interact with money. Can you handle keeping up with the payments on a credit card? Can you be disciplined enough to say no to yourself for certain things so that you don't overspend? Everybody has challenges with a credit card, but not everybody incurs credit card debt. They're able to make those payments and keep up with them so they don't end up with all of those fees and high interest rates and all of that fun stuff. That's not really fun. So you have to look at the advantages and the negative sides of having a credit card and decide for you what makes the most sense. Can you live without a credit card? Absolutely. Is it a little bit more challenging in certain areas of life? It can be, but you have to make the right decision for you. It's really easy to get a credit card. It's a little bit more challenging to manage than people realize. So you have to think for yourself what makes sense. And if you want to learn how to live without a credit card, happy to talk with you about it because I've done both. I've lived with a credit card and I've lived without it. It's possible.